welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC Fight Night 190, Gane versus Volkov. We're going to talk one free play here. Only reason being is there is a thunderstorm, and my power has been going out. So it's kind of been fucking annoying. So we're going to get through this. We're going to knock this out. And yeah, so if you want to check out my client plays, linked in the description, check those out. I am back from Turks and Caicos. It was an amazing, amazing time. I mean, literally it was like vacationing in one of those screensavers. It was just unbelievable, unreal, great time out there. Weather was perfect, fun time. And then you guys saw the video of, we were all going to go out and do some snorkeling. And a little bit behind that video, if you want to check it out on Twitter, at Kyle Anthony UFC. Basically, we just wanted to do a little snorkeling, kind of go out. We saw some people doing that, and we went out. They gave us some drinks right away at about 9 o'clock in the morning. We all kind of went out there and didn't see fish. We were kind of swimming around, where are the fish? And my brother was there, kind of, where, am I missing something here? Get back on the boat, and party starts. They got music going. They're giving shots out. Good thing my son was not on that boat because he was with the grandparents there, because boy was it out of control. Great time though, and we did cash in on our two best bets that night. Did have a profitable night. Then we go to last weekend. Had our 5% play. Let me tell you something before we get into this card. Dan Ige, I love that play. Minus 110. This is a bet I think I would consistently make. I know it's a losing bet, but really looking back at it, my big thought process here is Korean Zombie did not look good against Brian Ortega. You got a BJJ specialist in Brian Ortega, and yes, he's elevated. Yes, he's kind of gotten, moved a little bit better over the last year and a half, whatever it may be. But Ige is a predominant striker, and when Brian Ortega outstrikes you for 5 rounds in basically a stand-up bout, did not think that Zombie would come back and really have a good performance. The big difference maker there was going to be that Zombie went for takedowns. Really, most of you got Zombie, good takedown defense. Ige, iffy on the takedowns, looked like it was going to be an absolute stand-up matchup. And Zombie kind of, was working some nice striking without a doubt, but definitely level changed, threw Ige off completely. There was even the aerobic kind of Caitlin Shakadian strikes coming from Ige, very just, no power behind it, kind of just flinging his arms out. Horrible showing for him. We do not cash in on that last weekend, but needed to get that off my chest there. But we are going to talk UFC Fight Night 190 on our free play on the main event of the evening between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. So let's get into it. We're going to first talk the line right now. You got Gane is a minus 170, and then you've got Volkov is a plus 140. So we're going to talk Volkov first here. Free fight, and again, like we do, we're going to talk last 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. Now, 3 fights ago, he fought Curtis Blaydes. Now, this was a fight here that I really thought that Blaydes would kind of go out there. This was a client play. Go out there, maul him, get on top of him. And you know what? He did the exact same thing. I mean, basically, Blaydes is looking to just not strike, take level changes, does not care if it takes him 10 attempts, he's going to get that takedown. He's going to look for it. That's what he did. And even on the stand-up, Volkov had some moments, was able to kind of push him off, land some big shots. Obviously, they're definitely worlds apart when it comes to on the feet, but on the ground, Blaydes was able to do enough to just kind of keep him on the ground, kept him there, and that was really the path to victory there for him. Not the most exciting performance for him, but again, this fight here, I don't really think you can cap too much going into Saturday night, dealing with the fact that you're not going to be seeing level changes like this. Gane is not going to be looking to do that, so this is a path to victory that you will not really be available for Gane going into Saturday night. And then 2 fights ago, he fought Walt Harris. This was an interesting fight here where, Harris was coming off the heels of, his daughter's passing, and then he'd come back into this fight. Looked in great shape. He definitely looked in great shape. But the one thing about Walt Harris is he's got about, 3.5 minutes of just fight energy, throwing big bombs. You saw him against Tybura, where we actually had Tybura was a client play, early big shots coming towards Tybura, and then he kind of just didn't really have much after that, and that's kind of what happened here as well. Early on in the fight, he looked good, kind of exchanging, but I think the thing there was Volkov knew, let me just get through this first couple minutes. He's going to look to throw the big shots. No doubt Harris has power. I mean, he definitely has the power. He looked a little bit more lighter on his feet as well, but Volkov kind of stayed his ground, stayed from the outside, landed some big shots early, threw some big shots where there was even a point where it looked like he was almost going to be stopped in that first round. Good showing from him, good output. The kickboxing from Volkov looked fantastic. Going into the second round, though, really, it looked like you could see, even at the end of that first round, you could see Harris looking up at the, at the clock. I mean, we were in the first round looking up at the clock. Things are not going well for you cardio-wise. So he goes out there into that second round. Volkov kind of sets up some big shots, throws a beautiful front kick to the body, puts away and drops Harris. Harris pretty much was hurt at that point, finishes the fight there on the nice front kick there, and really it shows again that versatile striking that Volkov has. He's definitely able to utilize some of the hand speed, but as well, and his range, but as well as throw out those big front kicks with his long legs because of that great height that he's got there. I think he's 6'7". So he goes up there and gets a TKO victory in the second round. Most recently, he fought Alistair Overeem, and this was another client play here, right? Did like Volkov here in this spot, paid up a little bit for it, but the one thing about Overeem is really that he just, he turtles up, and he's just at the end of his career. He had looked good in certain spots, and some of his paths to victory were really these takedowns. It really was kind of something new that he brought to the table, kind of level changing, throwing guys off who think, hey, this is a kickboxer. He goes out there and level changes. That was a big difference maker here, but right away you saw the pressure from Volkov, and that's something we're going to talk about more towards Gane. But the pressure was a really, really, and also obviously Overeem turtles up, so the big pressure coming, the turtling up from Overeem, he was kind of allowing those shots to happen, had him up against the fence. The one thing Volkov did that I thought was really impressive was keeping that jab out there, popping the jab out there, setting up his combinations, utilizing the jab for kind of distance management, range finder kind of strike, and then level changing kicks. He had the solid striking, good boxing, mixing it up. I mean, pretty much in that first round was battered and bruised. He ends up getting out there, it was a mauling at a point though. I mean, I gotta say, even rewatching it, it was a mauling from Volkov. I mean, he just landed some big shots, really laid it on him. You saw how just battered and beaten and bruised Overeem was in that fight. He goes out there, he finishes Alistair Overeem in the fight, gets the knockout victory, and looks good going into Saturday night. Now you've got on the other side, you've got Gane. Gane 3 fights ago fought Tanner Boser. Now this was a fight here I thought was a very interesting fight. Now Boser had about a 6.5 inch or 6 inch disadvantage there. You had, Gane had a nice reach advantage over him. And the one thing about Boser is, he definitely has good hand speed, good movement, smaller for the division, not a big heavyweight, but very, very light on his feet. And that's kind of helped him over his career being the faster guy. But Gane has the speed also, good movement, and this was one where it kind of felt like, and we're going to talk about obviously in the Rozenstruik fight, but where he kind of was just very patient, stayed on the outside, landed some nice shots, didn't really look to really engage and fire big shots in massive combinations. You just don't really see that from him, but you do see great kicks, power kicks, good leg kicks. The one thing that he was susceptible to, I thought, from Boser, who being a smaller guy, was that he was actually landing some nice kicks on Gane. Gane was getting hit on the leg, wasn't checking them as much as he probably should have been. But he was looking for the counter strikes. That's what Gane does. He goes out there, looks for the counter strikes. Did it over 3 rounds. It was an easy decision victory for him there. I thought early in that first round, though, I got to say that first round just in general was a little bit closer than I kind of remembered it, because Boser was pressing. Boser was pushing forward. He was trying to cut that distance. But there's a point where you've got a 6 inch disadvantage in the striking department there. It just didn't add up, and he just couldn't do enough to cut the distance. And then there was a point where Boser just said, forget cutting the distance. I can't get inside. Stayed at perfect range for Gane to go out there and just work his striking and his kickboxing from the outside. He goes out there and gets a sweeping decision victory. And so there you have it there for Gane. 2 fights ago, he fought Junior Dos Santos. Now this was against Dos Santos, this was kind of one of those fights where you got that legend, it's kind of the same thing with Overeem or with Volkov. You got that legend, recognizable name, where is he in his career? This was a spot here where I think most importantly, how they were going to react standing, and basically what distance were they going to be at? Because you've got the power of JDS. He definitely has that power, but was he going to be able to really oblige in the same distance that Gane likes? Because you've got the boxing, really the boxing heavy attack of Dos Santos is really, that's his thing. He doesn't really throw kicks very much. He's not really known for that. It's really a boxing heavy approach, and I think that really hurt him in this fight, because you've got Gane who's utilizing his range, utilizing, being on the outside, staying at kickboxing range. JDS tried to smother in certain spots, trying to cut that distance, wasn't really able to, and again, he does what Overeem does, turtles up in weird positions, kind of awkwardly runs when his back is up against the cage. There was a lot of different things there that he wasn't really able to kind of fine tune or get into rhythm. Where you've got the other side, you've got Gane who was mixing up his strikes, landing nice strikes, pushing forward, was able to really showcase his kickboxing skills. But again, in a certain spots pushing forward, but then in a very comfortable position, he's I'll sit on the outside. And then in that second round, he was able to land a nice shot, threw an elbow to the head, which kind of did look a little bit to the back of the head, but to the head, put away Dos Santos in that second round. A nice win for him overall, so they have it there. And then most recently, and we're not going to get into this one because, boy, was it was terrible enough to watch it once. I did not need to watch it again. Was against Jardinho Rozenstruik. This was a fight here where basically they both were counter strikers. They both were kind of waited over 5 rounds. Rozenstruik did really nothing. Gane didn't really do much himself either, but he did enough where he was just at least winning rounds, at least throwing strikes. Midway in that fight, you've got Rozenstruik's corner yelling and pleading to put out some kind of offense, get out some strikes, push out something. Wasn't doing it, and now again, obviously, you could put a little bit where Gane there, was he doing something where it was just, he's waiting in the right spots, countering in the right spots, that was just kind of pushing Rozenstruik away from really attacking? Was it the past knockout that Rozenstruik suffered? It could have been a couple different things, but overall, though, it was a sweeping decision. 5 rounds, all rounds went to Gane, so there you have it there. So with that being said, now, looking back at these two guys, obviously the big part is they're both big kickboxers. Both big, heavy, strong kickboxers. Elite level kickboxer you've got on Gane's side. Both of them are rangy strikers. And I think the speed at which Gane throws kicks is a big difference in this spot, because there's one thing that he, having the ability to throw these strikes, but also as well as the speed and how quick you can develop those combinations. And that's one thing that Gane does. I mean, he's definitely, when he pulls the trigger, he can fire. It's just, he's a very patient fighter. He's waiting, he's a counter striker, he's waiting to utilize, when you're out of position, he's looking to counter that spot. And that's where he's obviously found success in his past, in kickboxing, and now he's trying to utilize it here. So he's definitely a well-rounded standing striker, without a doubt. On the other side, you've got Alexander Volkov. On this side here, I mean, the one thing about it, I think that, obviously, again, you've got the kickboxing side of things, but I think the biggest part of all of this is the one thing with Gane is that he's been pretty much over his career in MMA, he's had that reach advantage. He's had that 5-inch reach advantage, 3-inch reach advantage, 4-inch reach advantage. He's always had that reach advantage. And even against Bozer, where Bozer was able to kind of, when he pushes forward, cut that distance, that's very important. And when you look at someone like Volkov, who is going to walk you down, who is not going to be scared to stay on the distance, although he can be he can stay in the kickboxing range and be fine, but these guys are going to have very similar, I think it's a 1-inch reach advantage for Gane. That's not very much. And a guy that has been very comfortable with being in those positions, I think this could help him. And then you add in the fact of the pressure that Volkov will bring. Now, you've got even Rozenstruik, who could be a long guy, or you've got, some of these guys who may be a little bit more rangy strikers, although you didn't see it there. Volkov's going to be a rangy striker, but he's going to push. He's going to push volume. He's going to get in your face. He's not going to just sit back and let you pick apart. Maybe, of course, there's going to be certain spots where it's going to be almost like a glorified kickboxing match, but I think that is extremely, extremely important. And again, the guys that Gane fought were willing to kind of present that space that Gane wants. You've got Bozer, who tried to push forward a little bit, found a little bit of success early, but then just wasn't able to because of the reach advantage. Same thing with Dos Santos. Dos Santos is a boxer. He just could not get inside, could not cut distance, and was being picked apart. And the same thing with Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik did not pull the trigger, stay deep, wasn't able to utilize any of his counter striking and allowed Gane to dictate the pace of the fight. I think here this is something that Volkov is going to do. Volkov's going to push forward, and the fact that he has the pressure and also the leg kicks. I think that's something that's going to be a part of this. Is he's going to have those long legs. I think they're both going to kind of shoot for those, chipping away and slowing the bigger guy down. But that's something that you've seen Gane hasn't been able to really check very much. One thing also though, obviously Volkov is more plotted when he's moving around. He definitely doesn't. He's not very as light-footed as Gane is. But I think the way that you're going to be able to smother these kicks that are going to come from Gane and force it being more of a close in tight striking match is going to be cut that range down, get in tight, smother that distance, and force these guys to get in tight, and that's a path to victory absolutely for Volkov here. I think that's going to be something where you're going to be able to see when they get in tight where, who's going to be the stronger striker there and who's more comfortable. And I like here in this spot here, I like Volkov at plus 140. The line actually has gone up. You've seen money come in on Gane. At this price, to me, the value is absolutely on Volkov here. Win or lose, I think it's on Volkov here. I am going to be having some exposure on this fight on Volkov here. I just think that, again, the big part of this for me is really the fact that they're going to have very similar reach, and as well as the way in which Volkov moves forward, keeps pressure forward, not scared to engage. He will absolutely not be scared to engage. I think he looks really good continually going into these fights. These guys that he's beaten, even when he lost, against Lewis, that was kind of a fluky kind of loss there, where he lands the big bomb, and that's what Lewis does. But he's really looked good. Even the wrestling side of things against Blades, when they stood, he looked great. Obviously, this is not going to be a grappling or takedown situation here. So I think if he's going to be comfortable standing, I think this is a great spot to take the plus money and take the dog here. I think the dog is absolutely live. So I am taking Alexander Volkov plus 140 as my free play. And that is it. That is the show. No lights went off. That's a good thing. Definitely follow me at Kyle Anthony UFC. Comment, like, subscribe. I always appreciate all of the comments. Good ones and bad ones, they're all great. I appreciate everybody. We will see you at the next show. And this is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.